In 2011, two men received odd emails from their friend. While the emails themselves were fairly mundane, they gave chills to the men that received them, because at this point, their friend had been dead for 5 months. Today, we explore the strangeness of the Jack Froese emails. Welcome back to another episode of Down with the Strangeness. I am your host, Ben. I am excited to be back, and thank you for joining me once again as we get down with the strangeness. Now, last week we talked about the 2003 color bomb bank robbery in Erie, Pennsylvania, a story that had plenty of murder and mystery, but it was also complete with police investigations and an eventual sentencing, although the truth is still somewhat debated. That story was very much a more traditional true crime kind of story. This week, we're staying in Pennsylvania, but we're taking a trip a little further into the strangeness. We're talking about messages sent from a dead man. We are talking about the Jack Froese emails. Jack Froese lived in Dunmore, Pennsylvania. By all accounts, he was liked by pretty much everyone in his life, and he was known for being a master of sarcasm with a great sense of humor. But sadly, in June of 2011, Jack Froese died suddenly of a heart arrhythmia. Jack was only 32 years old at the time, and his sudden passing left his friends and family in shock. One of those friends was named Tim Hart, and in November of 2011, just 5 months after Jack's death, Tim was relaxing at home while catching up on some emails when he saw a familiar name in his inbox that stopped him in his tracks. Tim had received an email from his friend, Jack Froese. The email said, "I'm watching. Did you hear me? I'm at your house. Clean your fucking attic." A creepy message in and of itself, but it was actually much creepier than it seems or feels on the surface. You see, so Jack has been dead at this point for about 5 months. Jack and Tim had been lifelong friends. They hung out a lot, and their more recent hangouts occurred at Tim's house. And in fact, on Jack's second to last visit to Tim's house, the two actually went up to the attic. They discussed plans to clean and renovate that area of the home, even joking about how dirty it really was. So this email was referencing a fresh, recent topic of conversation, a conversation that was not had publicly or really with any other people around. This email seemingly directly referenced one of their final private conversations together. But Tim Hart was not the only person to receive an email from the deceased Jack Froese. Jack's cousin, Jimmy McGraw, also received one. Jimmy's email said, "Hey Jim, how are you doing? I knew you were going to break your ankle. Tried to warn you. Gotta be careful. Tell Rock for me. Great song. You're welcome." Couldn't get through to him. His email didn't work. The strange part of this email is that Jimmy McGraw had in fact broken his ankle on his way to work one morning. However, Jimmy's ankle break did not occur until after the death of Jack Froese. In fact, it only happened about a week before Jimmy received the email. Meaning that if this is really Jack sending these emails from beyond, then he has some knowledge of things that have occurred since his passing. Both Tim Hart and Jimmy McGraw sent replies to their emails from Jack Froese, but they never got any response, and they never received another email from their friend again. So Tim, Jack, the Froese family, everyone is kind of left wondering just who sent these emails, why they sent them, and why did they stop after the first one. So let's get into some of the theories and thoughts about these emails. As with any episode that deals more in the theory than the fact, we'll begin with what I consider to be the most obvious answer, or most obvious theory, or at least the one that people will immediately jump to, even if it's not the most obvious. Then we'll work our way more into the strangeness as we go. And in my eyes, easily the most obvious explanation, the first explanation a lot of people are going to go to here, is that somebody just logged into Jack Froese's email account and sent these messages. But within that theory, there's two possible explanations. One is that the email was hacked by somebody unknown. It happens to people multiple times a day, every single day. People get their emails hacked. Someone gets in your email account and begins sending emails posing as you. But those emails are typically some sort of scam or con, attempts to steal data or money, or people trolling with viruses and other things like that. Hacked emails are not usually personalized like this. They wouldn't usually be different emails sent to various recipients. It would normally be one kind of standard form email that's sent out en masse to many contacts. And it definitely would not contain details pulled from intimate conversations and relationships. Which leads me to the second part of this hacker theory, one that I believe is much more likely than just some random person, but you do have to broaden your interpretation of what the term hacker means to include a friend or family member who may have already had Jack's password or just got lucky and guessed it. That would help explain the intimate knowledge the sender had about the people receiving the emails. It may just be some prankster who was close to Jack sending these emails to other people that they knew, trying to get a rise out of them. And the lack of response after the initial email could be due to the fact that the perpetrator bailed on their prank when they realized that people didn't find it quite so funny. But nobody ever came forward, and there was never any sign of the email account being hacked or otherwise accessed. And for what it's worth, those closest to Jack also have doubts that he shared his passwords with anyone. And this is me talking now. If I'm pulling off some elaborate prank after my death and I'm going to need help, I'm probably going to go to my lifelong friend. So if anyone was in on it, I would imagine it would be Tim. But based on his reaction to his email, that just gives me a lot of doubts that it was him. Maybe he's a good actor. I don't know. But I don't think that it was Tim. And apparently it's hard to believe that it would be anyone else. I do wonder, though, if we could get an answer to this, if we could discover it with the kind of access and data that we have, or the kind of data we have access to today. Another 10 years of technology to work with, seeing what IP address signed into this account, where, what device. But as of November 13th, 2021, while I'm getting this episode ready to go up, there is no proof that this was a prankster or a hacker. So what then? These emails obviously came from somewhere. Another possibility is that Jack Froese is the prankster. You see, while doing the research for this episode, I learned that there are a surprisingly large number of services out there that will allow you to connect an email address and schedule the delivery of pre-written emails to be sent after your passing. But with the unpredictable nature of death, I'm not sure exactly how these companies operate. It's one thing if you know you'll be dead by a specific date, but that's true in very few instances, unless you're planning these emails for years later. Jack's death was sudden and unexpected, far from the kind of death that makes sense for these services, to at least to occur so quickly. And it's unclear to me exactly how all of these companies are notified upon death, but those close to Jack always talked about his sarcasm and his sense of humor, as I mentioned earlier in the episode. This could be one last joke from beyond the grave. An interesting find for me, one service I found in particular while doing research for this, has a couple pieces of information on their website that I thought interestingly aligned with our story. There's a service or website, Dead Man's Switch, which is deadmanswitch.net, if you're interested in looking it up. A website that claims to be a stochastic technologies project. This site provides the emails after death kind of service that we were just talking about. On their site, they have two options for pricing. The premium option is only $50 for a lifetime, so a one-time payment, and the premium Dead Man Switch service allows you to send 100 emails to 100 recipients with no limitation on intervals between emails. The free option provides, get this, 2 emails sent to 2 recipients with a short interval period required. And Jack Froese sent 2 emails to 2 different recipients following his death. And after that, he never sent another email or responded to any of those friends' replies. One feature of the Dead Man Switch that I found that kind of solved my question of how do these companies know, Dead Man Switch sends regular emails to your inbox that you have to reply to basically confirm that you are still alive. And if you do not reply to a series of these emails, then your scheduled emails are processed, right? Ready to be sent and released. So Jack Froese could have signed up for the free version of Dead Man's Switch or another similar service. It would absolutely explain the knowledge of Tim's attic in that conversation. But how would Jack have known about Jimmy's ankle injury that occurred after Jack died? And how would Jack have known he'd be dead in November of 2011 with his death being unexpected? Unless, maybe, Jack did have some kind of indication that he may be dead by November, perhaps an unfavorable diagnosis that he decided not to share with anyone. But again, the detail that will forever trip this theory up is the reference to Jimmy McGraw and his broken ankle. It happened 4 to 5 months after Jack died, so there's no way that Jack would be able to include that in his pre-written emails. So if it's not hackers or pranksters or dead man email services, then who is it? Maybe it really was Jack Froese from beyond the grave. You know that we keep an extremely open mind here on Down with the Strangeness, and while I do not believe in the concept of an afterlife as it is often represented, mainly because of the influence of religion in today's society. So while I don't believe in the traditional concept of an afterlife, I do believe that the end of our own human existence is not just as simple as turning off the lights. Call it a spirit, call it a soul, your consciousness, your inner self. I do believe that there is more to humans and the universe in general that we still don't really have a tremendous understanding of, or possibly even no idea about. At least until you die, and whatever happens, happens, and you go wherever it is that you go. So no, I don't believe that Jack Froese is sitting in an internet cafe in heaven, logged into his old Gmail account to communicate with his loved ones while he and Jesus share an espresso. But I do recognize that these emails could have been some sort of manifestation of Jack's actions, thoughts, or just general energy following his death. Regardless of the source of these emails, though, those closest to Jack Froese find comfort in them. Jack's mother, Patty, told everyone to accept these emails as gifts. She said, "I saw they made people happy. They upset some people, but I see it as people were still talking about him." And Tim Hart feels similarly, claiming that he didn't care if he was simply the victim of some cruel prank. He too finds comfort and happiness in the emails from his old friend, saying, "If somebody's joking around, I don't care because I take it whatever way I want." So we may never know who was behind these emails from the deceased Jack Froese, and maybe, in my opinion, and it's for the better. It provides Jack's friends and family some comfort and closure in the loss of their loved one, and it continues to give people like me and those of you listening something to talk and think about. That is going to do it for the Jack Froese emails. That is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Before you go, a rating and review on Apple Podcasts helps the show out a lot, and it really does mean the world to me. Subscribe, comment, like the YouTube version if that's how you happen to be watching or listening. Follow the show on social media, at Down With The Strangeness on Instagram, at Down With Strange on Twitter. We're pretty much everywhere. You can find those links in the show notes. You can email the show, downwiththestrangeness@gmail.com. Check out our Patreon page and our website. Links for everything that I'm talking about will be in the show notes and also available on our website, downwiththestrangeness.com. But that is all for today. Thank you for joining me once again. I will see you guys next week. And until then, keep it strange.